The Indiana Fever fans were chanting, "Sophie, Sophie."
While Caitlin Clark was getting hit from every direction and the refs just stood there, fans had one demand: somebody step up, and that's when Sophie Cunningham made it crystal clear she got the memo.
Sheldon going coast to coast, and we got another.
In a moment that's now taken the internet by storm, Sophie Cunningham didn't just check JC Sheldon. She didn't just clap back at the Connecticut Sun. She sent a clear warning shot to the entire WNBA. Lay a finger on Caitlin Clark and you're gonna answer for it.
Teams are gonna have to think twice about messing with Caitlin Clark again.
While fans were outraged watching Caitlin Clark take hit after hit with zero accountability from the officials, they finally got what they'd been shouting for: a protector, an enforcer, someone fearless enough to step up and make a statement. Out of the chaos and blown calls, something powerful emerged. In one defining moment, Sophie Cunningham didn't just back her teammate, she ignited a fire that could completely shift the momentum of the Fever's season. And let's be honest, it might sound early, but Sophie just went from role player to a name everyone in the sports world now knows.
They didn't know, like, whoa, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe people are doing this to Caitlin Clark. Teammates weren't jumping in there. They bring in Sophie Cunningham. I had no idea. Sophie Cunningham was a black belt at the age of 6.
Yeah. Yep.
Boom!
Wow. The ripple effect is already undeniable. Within just 48 hours, Sophie Cunningham's name is everywhere. Clips of her hard foul are dominating social media, fans are fired up, and the entire vibe around the Indiana Fever has shifted. This isn't just Indiana versus the league anymore. This is Caitlin Clark versus everybody. And Sophie, she just made it crystal clear she's the one guarding her back. Here's the crazy part: that single moment might end up making Sophie millions. And that's not hype. The proof is already showing. Let's break it all down. But first, hit that like button, drop a boxing glove emoji if you're riding with Sophie, and don't forget to subscribe for more no-filter WNBA updates.
When they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this game, it's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical, and you allow these things to happen, they're gonna compete. And they're gonna have their teammates' backs.
There's no sugarcoating it. The Fever's showdown with the Sun marked a new low for the WNBA. Criticism of the league's officiating isn't new. Just ask Kelsey Plum, who literally broke down in tears recently, saying she prays for it to improve. But what went down against Connecticut? That made it crystal clear. It's open season on Caitlin Clark, and the refs, they're just standing there, doing absolutely nothing about it.
Watch when Caitlin Clark is trying to create some space. It looked like she just got hit in the eye there.
Ooh, and Marina Mabry, I missed that one, Idona.
JC Sheldon went straight at the face of the WNBA, literally. And right in the middle of that chaos, Marina Mabry came flying in with a brutal body check that sent Caitlin Clark crashing to the floor. It felt like Dejanai Carrington and Chennedy Carter had somehow duplicated themselves and stormed the court in a tag team ambush. And when the alternate angles of the replay surfaced, it was even dirtier than it looked live. No question about it.
This angle is wild, folks. There's the eye gouge. Watch Mabry. Boom! I mean, come on.
JC Sheldon's swipe wasn't some clumsy accident. It was intentional. And Marina Mabry didn't just bump Caitlin Clark, she launched her. If this happened in the NBA, it would have triggered a flagrant and likely an ejection on the spot. But in the W, just another day at the office. And look, it was a little frustrating. Lexi Hull stepped up and got in Sheldon's face for a moment, but overall, the Fever didn't bring much fire, especially not from head coach Stephanie White. Now, to be fair, she made up for it with her words after the game, but during the action, fans were practically begging her to pull a full Bobby Knight and toss a chair across the court, which honestly would have been iconic considering Knight's legacy at Indiana. And before anyone jumps in with the tired Caitlin's soft argument, just don't.
It made me think if this was LeBron in the NBA, think if this was Steph Curry in the NBA, do you really think that the NBA would be allowing certain players in the NBA to go after LeBron the way that Caitlin was chucked to the ground? Do you think if another player came up, blindsided LeBron, chucked him to the ground after he had just been poked in the eye, that the NBA would be like, oh yeah, technicals, nobody's ejected. Just a common technical foul. That would never happen. It would never happen.
There's just no way this kind of thing would fly if it happened to Steph or LeBron. No shot. Even the broadcasters were stunned Marina didn't get ejected for that blatant body check. But here's the truth bomb. Caitlin Clark means more to the WNBA right now than Steph or LeBron mean to the NBA. That's not a spicy take. That's just facts. Just look at what happened when she sat out 5 games. The difference was undeniable.
Even as good as that rating was, Caitlin Clark's good for about 1 million extra viewers.
Viewership didn't just decline, it completely tanked. Fever Games lost more than half their audience and league-wide interest dropped off a cliff. At this point, you'd expect the WNBA to issue a league-wide mandate. Protect Caitlin Clark at all costs. Give her the star calls. Wrap her in bubble wrap if you have to. But instead, they let the face of the league take hit after hit. With no whistle, no backup, and no respect. It wasn't just a bad no call, it was a disaster, a PR nightmare. And now the backlash is coming from everywhere. Fans, media, even retired players. Because this isn't just about fouls anymore. It's about the league openly disrespecting its biggest star. And the fans are done staying quiet.
And I mean, when I tell you social media is setting the WNBA on fire right now, not in a good way, that's the understatement.
Even with the Fever dominating the scoreboard and Caitlin Clark already serving up the night's most savage moment, that deep 3 followed by ice-cold trash talk right in front of the Suns bench, something still felt off. The win was in the bag, but the emotions weren't. There was this lingering tension, like justice hadn't quite been delivered. The clock was winding down, but the story didn't feel complete. The statement wasn't made, not yet. And then Sophie Cunningham made sure it was.
That's a flagrant foul. It's a hard foul.
With the game already sealed, Sophie Cunningham didn't hold back. She leveled JC Sheldon with a punishing foul that looked straight out of a martial arts highlight reel. And for fans, it was the moment they'd been waiting for. Indiana supporters, WNBA followers, the Caitlin Clark faithful, everyone who'd watched Clark get hacked, shoved, and disrespected week after week finally got what they were begging for, someone to fight back. But this wasn't just about one player or one dirty play. This felt bigger. It was Sophie answering back for all the elbows, the blindside hits, and the silence from the refs. She wasn't just making a statement to Sheldon, she was making one to the entire league. This wasn't just a hard foul, it was justice.
And I truly think that this was a message that she was sending to the leagues, to the officiating, just like to everybody, because it is, if you are watching any of these games, you are seeing that there is a disparity in the way that it's being officiated, and the Indiana Fever are held to a standard that no other team is held to.
Now here's where it gets really compelling, because this moment was about way more than just a single flagrant foul. What went down against the Sun felt like a shift, a possible tipping point for the entire WNBA. Maybe, just maybe, it forces the league to finally confront its officiating problem. Maybe it pushes them to make real changes. But let's be honest, when a blatant face swipe and a straight-up body check against the league's biggest star leads to nothing more than a shrug, that's not just a missed call, that's a message, and it crossed a line.
All right, enough is enough. You know, at some point, the line gets crossed too often where something needs to be done and things need to be corrected.
2 massive outcomes came out of that game, and both are game-changing. First, you've got Caitlin Clark's fan base, a group that's been mocked, dismissed, and flat-out insulted for over a year. They were told they weren't real basketball fans, even as they packed arenas and shattered viewership records. But now, after watching Clark get smacked in the face and slammed to the floor with no consequences whatsoever, that frustration didn't just grow, it exploded into full-blown outrage.
Again, the league's been handed this miracle, this beacon of light, while it was down in some dungeon in the basement on life support, and it was never turned a profit, lost $40 million last year. They get handed this beacon of light, and all these players cannot stand her. They're jealous. The players union, it looks like the whole league
There's a breaking point, and a lot of Caitlin Clark's fans are already there. It's starting to feel like the WNBA doesn't actually want to thrive with her leading the way. And when fans sense that, everything changes. They stop cheering for the league's success and start rooting for Caitlin Clark to dominate while hoping the league collapses every time she's not on the court. Because if you're not going to protect her, promote her, or even recognize the impact she's having on your growth, why would her fans care about anything else? It's a dangerous cycle, one that pushes away loyal supporters, isolates your biggest star, and risks long-term damage to everything you've built. And then there's this.
So this is a petition to get Sophie Cunningham removed from the WNBA. Where she displayed tonight was disgusting.
Alright, let's be real. Some folks think this is all just internet noise, a pointless petition that'll blow over. And don't worry, we'll get to Sophie's savage response in a second because it's absolute gold. But first, let's talk about what's really going on here. We're not just talking about random trolls. There are actual fans out there who are fully melting down. They're demanding Sophie Cunningham be banned from the league, calling for the WNBA to move the All-Star game out of Indianapolis, and even pushing for boycotts. And the funniest part, it all gets even more ridiculous when you stop, take a breath, and remember what these same people were saying just a few months ago.
The anti-Clark fans, I am seeing them not only celebrate Kiiri Afen in this situation, but say that Sophie Cunningham was at fault for what happened, and she got what she deserved, and saying good job Kiiri Afen.
Back in a preseason matchup against the Mystics, the double standards were on full display. When Sophie Cunningham got slammed to the floor, the same crowd that's now outraged didn't blink. In fact, not only did they back Kiki Fane for the hit, they cheered it. And some of the loudest voices online were actually calling for more of that same treatment.
We are seeing literal people, not threats of violence, but people encouraging violence against a player. And that's not on. That's not on for nothing. There are people literally out there encouraging violence against Sophie Cunningham. And these are the people that want to say another fan base is the worst fan base in the WNBA, and they're encouraging literal violence against players.
Here's my honest take. It's starting to feel like parts of this league and a loud segment of its fan base just can't handle Caitlin Clark being the face of the WNBA. And it's not just about her. Anyone who stands with her, plays beside her, or dares to defend her becomes a lightning rod too. Remember what happened after the game against the Sky? Clark fouled Angel Reese, and suddenly it wasn't just about those two, and the backlash hit the entire Fever roster. Fans were dragging players who had nothing to do with the foul, questioning their toughness, their reactions, even their integrity, simply for not responding the way some people wanted. That goes beyond basketball discourse. That's personal, and it proves one thing. If you're linked to Caitlin Clark in any way, you'd better be ready for the firestorm, because like it or not, this really has become Caitlin Clark and her teammates against the world.
The kind of stuff that's being said to them, the stuff that's being said to Kelsey Mitchell, the kind of things that are being said to Natasha Howard are actually wild. People have taken a photo of these women and circled a bullseye on them and have said, "It's on site when I see you." Those are actual threats.
With all that tension bubbling beneath the surface, the stage was set, and Sophie Cunningham delivered. She didn't just back Caitlin Clark. She answered the call fans had been screaming for. She became the muscle, the message sender, the player unafraid to draw the line and dare the rest of the league to cross it again. And that single moment, that flagrant foul, the viral clip, the fire behind it, it's already rewriting her entire narrative. Not just in Indiana, not just with Fever fans, but across the entire sports landscape. Because in less than 2 days, everything flipped. Sophie Cunningham didn't just make a statement, she made herself a star.
It's actually insane how viral this has already gone. There's so many NBA accounts who are tweeting it. I was getting ESPN notifications about it. Like, it is wild how much traction.
Sophie Cunningham just lit up social media. Her name, her clip, her moment. It's everywhere. Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. You can't scroll without seeing it. And here's why that's such a big deal. Caitlin Clark's fan base isn't just big, it's a movement. It dwarfs every other following in the WNBA. These fans don't just watch games. They rally, they post, they protect, and most importantly, they amplify. And Sophie? She didn't just support Clark. She stood between her and the chaos. Literally, in the heat of a physical, messy game. When no one else had stepped up, Sophie said, "Not not on my watch, and now she's reaping the rewards. Nearly 600,000 new TikTok followers in just 2 days. That's not just a viral bump, that's sponsor attention, agents scrambling, and the entire sports world finally learning her name. They're calling her the bodyguard of the W, and this is just the beginning.
Sophie Cunningham's jersey has sold out. I repeat, the Sophie Cunningham Fever jersey has sold out.
Her jersey flew off the shelves in record time. People who had never even heard of her days earlier were now proudly wearing her name. And as for that ridiculous petition trying to ban her from the league, Sophie delivered the ultimate comeback without saying a single word.
They got beat up by the enforcers. But Sophie Cunningham has responded to the petition by just retweeting a freaking post about her jersey being sold out. That is a response. That is quote tweeting her the petition. Like that is the best way of going about it.
At the end of the day, fans speak loudest with two things: their money and their attention. And right now, both are screaming the same thing. Sophie Cunningham isn't just a name WNBA fans recognize anymore. She's officially earned the title of Caitlin Clark fan favorite. Let's be real, the critics love to push this tired narrative that Clark's fans only care about her, that they don't support the WNBA or even the Fever, just one player. But moments like this prove how wrong that is. Yes, Clark has an army behind her, but they don't just follow her stat lines. They ride with anyone who protects her. And nobody has stood taller than Sophie. She didn't just play alongside Clark, she put herself in the fire, took the hit, made a statement, put her body on the line to stand up for the league's biggest star, and in return, the fans have wrapped her in a wave of support that money can't buy. This isn't some viral blip that fades in a few days. This is something bigger. Sophie Cunningham just earned the loyalty of Caitlin Clark's fan base, and that changes everything. Just look at what happened with Kate Martin, a second-round draft pick, barely averaging 3 points a game, outselling the league MVP in jersey sales. Why? Because she wore the same Iowa jersey as Caitlin Clark. Now imagine what happens when someone doesn't just play with Clark, but puts it all on the line for her. That's Sophie Cunningham now, the enforcer, the protector, and soon, one of the highest paid, most marketable faces in the league. She didn't just make a statement, she made a business move.
I wonder how much money Sophie Cunningham is going to make on endorsement deals this season, this summer. Like, I think Sophie Cunningham's endorsement deals are going to go into the millions, are going to be in the millions this year. I think they're going to be in the millions this year. Because if you are not only like good in front, like she's good in front of a camera, she is now known as the Caitlin Clark's enforcer. And like, it's something that matters. It's something that really, really matters.
Let's start with this. Sophie Cunningham was always built for the spotlight. Long before she joined the Fever, she was already showing flashes of star power. Back when she played for the Mercury, she was pulling double duty as a studio analyst for the Phoenix Suns, and absolutely crushing it. She was smooth, sharp, and comfortable in front of the camera. No teleprompter energy, no robotic sound bites, just real charisma and confidence. She knows how to work a mic just as well as she works a court. But don't get it twisted, Sophie's not just out there to stir things up. She's no goon. She's got real game. She's hit clutch threes, made veteran level reads, and brought exactly the kind of toughness and experience Indiana's young roster has been missing. Whether it's a late game situation, a full-on scrap, or a press conference packed with cameras, Sophie knows how to handle the moment. And now the whole league is finally starting to notice.
For me to come in here knowing what I've been taught, I kind of want to spread it around, especially with how talented this group is. I'm just excited to kind of maybe be that calm piece when it needs to be calm, that feisty, sassy, stick up for my teammates when it needs to be that. And so just kind of reading the room and, you know, whatever the team needs that day, being able to provide.
Plenty of people had already labeled her the most overlooked addition to the Fever roster, the hidden gem, the glue piece, the one who could quietly bring exactly what Caitlin Clark and this young squad needed: grit, spacing, leadership, and that fearless edge. And now, that take is aging like fine wine. In a league where things have gotten deeply personal, fans versus officials, Caitlin versus the noise, one truth is impossible to ignore. Caitlin Clark's supporters ride hard for anyone who stands by her. Loyalty runs deep, and when a player steps up to protect their star, fans show up tenfold. Sophie Cunningham didn't hesitate. She stepped up when it mattered most. Bold, loud, and completely unapologetic. And now, the wave of support heading her way is massive. She answered the call, and she's about to cash in. If you're still with us, drop a basketball in the comments. We see you. Thanks for watching.